here is the man of the hour, Steve Wiltfong, here dropping this report on us late this afternoon. Steve, what can you tell us about the developments with Dante Moore?
Well, there was some buzz behind the scenes today that UCLA was a program to watch here down the stretch with Dante Moore coming off his official visit to UCLA. I think the opportunity to come in and be a first-day starter is really exciting to play for a coach like Chip Kelly and the pedigree he has with the quarterback position, to go play for a program that had the nation's number 10 scoring offense, number 3 total offense, and a balanced attack that was number 4 in the nation in rushing offense. And then, I talked to his head football coach over there at Detroit King today, Ty Spencer, who said that he really liked it, and then went into about Chip Kelly being very knowledgeable and coached a lot of good quarterbacks. And, there's been some change at Oregon with Kenny Dillingham not being there any longer. And I think Dan Lanning's done a good job of trying to bridge that gap, but he had such a close relationship with Kenny Dillingham. Oregon maybe feels a little bit different to him. Now, Oregon's still plugging along, doing what they can to keep Dante Moore as the jewel of the class here, and they're certainly in on a lot of other 5 stars as well. But we'll see what happens here with Dante Moore, who wants to enroll early at the school of his choice and start right away. And the other element is Bo Nix could be back at Oregon next year as well. And I think that's something else Dante's pondering.
Steve, we wondered what kind of effect UCLA's move to the Big Ten could have for their recruiting efforts nationally. They've been known to be a program that maybe stays out west a little bit more than maybe they should, right, given their national appeal. But if Dante Moore would join the fold, what kind of potential impact nationally could you see this having for the Bruins?
Well, maybe it'll make things more enticing for local prospects to stay home and play in the Big Ten than seeking out the SEC or Big Ten from the region that they live in. It's obvious that the Pac-12 has lagged behind from top to bottom when comparing it to the other programs and looking at the NFL draft. And so I think, first of all, UCLA showing that they were on an upward trajectory this year, having a 9-3 season and playing in some big ball games certainly helps with that. And then going into what is probably widely considered a more prestigious football league certainly will help as well. But we'll see. Obviously they're going into a league with some staffs that do a great job on the trail as well.
All right, let's switch gears. We are coming down to the wire here, and you're putting in some last-minute crystal balls ahead of signing day next week, including some crystal balls for 2 of the top prospects from the state of Alabama. That's 4-star defensive end James Smith and 4-star edge Quay Rusa, both crystal balled to Alabama. So when do you think we're going to hear a decision from them?
Well, they're going to announce their college decision on December 21st, the first day of the early signing period. So Alabama right now, I think, is the team to beat. Hugh Freeze and several Auburn staffers went in there this week. Hugh Freeze also paid a visit to the training facility, Madhouse, where they get their work in. Previously, he did not meet with the kids, but building inroads with them at that time. And they'd like to get them back over there this weekend for one more sit down with them. But right now, all the buzz is with Alabama. That's the program that both those young men know what they're getting with. They've been there several times. They understand what Alabama's about. They know the coaching staff there well. They know Coach Roach well. And so I think the consistency of Alabama's program has put them in prime position to land 2 more of the state's best and add to what's certainly shaping up to be one of the better defensive line hauls in a while. And, we'll see if Auburn can change the narrative over the next 6 days.
Yeah, Alabama setting the pace right now in the team recruiting rankings for this 2023 recruiting cycle. They also received a crystal ball from you, Steve, for Damari Brown, the 4-star corner. What's the latest with him?
Yeah, that's another one where currently I like Alabama for Damari Brown. Nick Saban and some staffers went in this week. I think it's a program that he's always had a keen eye on. And I know 24/7 Sports Director of Scouting Andrew Ivins agrees, talking with him this week about Damari. But you certainly have Florida State in there still battling, and Miami's going to make a late push here. And so that one still could get interesting over the next 6 days. But I think that Alabama is in pole position for Damari going into his college commitment.
All right, Steve, you handed another crystal ball to 4-star linebacker Tausili Akana for Oklahoma. So what's the latest on his decision with signing day? 6 days away.
Well, this is another one that may be tight. And again, Blair Angulo's close to this one. So if he wants to chime in, awesome. But I think that Oklahoma has set the bar with Tausili Akana. I think he's really hit it off with Brent Venables and his coaching staff. I think he likes the defense and the way that he would be utilized. This is a young man that on one down can rush the passer, and then on the next down seamlessly drop and cover and make plays in space and be very comfortable. He's got a unique skill set, and Brent Venables has shown over the course of his career as a defensive play caller that he knows how to scheme those guys in there to be very disruptive and be playmakers. Now you have Texas in the picture. His sister plays volleyball over there in Austin. I think the Longhorns have made a late push here. LSU's always been a contender led by Jamar Cain's efforts. Utah, I believe, is trying to make a late push. Maybe there's some others, but I think everybody's chasing Oklahoma.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Steve. I have not put in a crystal ball pick yet. I have heard that Utah's making a really strong push there. He's a player that's originally from the state of Hawaii. Remember, he moved to Utah to play during that COVID year because there was no cancellation in the Beehive State. So he wanted to kick off his recruitment. It obviously paid off. He stayed in the state of Utah. And although that's not his home state, it's felt like home. So I like the Utes right now making a late push. But Oklahoma has made a tremendous impression. He has the longest standing relationship with Brent Venables, who was recruiting him at Clemson, before he even made it to Norman. So I think the relationship, the comfort level is there. And Texas can't sleep on them. He was out there for the Alabama game. He likes LSU quite a lot too. So you hit it there with everything, Steve. With a player like him, when you look at maybe the potential for him to make a decision closer to signing day. When you think about Oklahoma specifically, how big would this be for Brent Venables to add another piece in that defensive class?
Well, they're trying to rebuild a program that won just 6 football games this year, one that's always been in the picture for the college football playoff for the several years prior. And then particularly with Brent Venables, they ran out one of the worst defenses in college football statistically. And we know that's not a place that he is used to being. He's used to having one of the most stout, entertaining defenses in the country, one that makes adjustments in game and really suffocates opponents by the time the second half comes around. Oklahoma has the nation's number 8 recruiting class right now, Blair. PJ Adebaware is one of the most explosive pass rushers in the country. I think they've really landed some interesting pieces in the secondary like Makari Vickers and Jacoby Johnson. Lewis Carter is one of the more athletic linebackers in the country. And if they can add Tausili Akana to some of those guys that I mentioned in the fold there, it starts to give Brent Venables the personnel that he wants to have to play the defense that he wants to play.
All right, it is spatula season, as you like to call it, and I know you're keeping your eyes on a couple of potential flips outside of Dante Moore, another 5-star running back, Cedric Baxter. He's been locked in with the Longhorns since August, but Florida State making a push here. He's an Orlando kid, so where do Mike Norvell's efforts to keep him in state stand?
Well, Mike Norvell and his staff went in home with Cedric Baxter this week. He also visited Florida State a couple times this season where he liked the way that the running game was utilized in this offense. And obviously Norvell has a track record of getting several running backs drafted at Memphis, but I still think this is an uphill climb for Florida State. He's expected back in Texas this weekend. Family loves Tashard Choice, loves the trajectory of the Longhorns program, and talking to his family, I think it's likely that he stays with Texas as they put the finishing touches on a top 5 class.
Yeah, in the state of Texas, Steve, speaking of which, Mikal Harrison-Pilot, the 4-star, seems to be leaning TCU. When could we expect him to make a decision?
He's announcing at the All-America Bowl on January 9th. That could be a big day for the Horned Frogs as top 247 linebacker Jelani McDonald also announces his college decision that day. TCU, they have the number 19 recruiting class in the country right now. This is one of their top recruiting classes that they've had in the 24/7 sports era going back to 2010. Harrison-Pilot was at TCU this past weekend. He's going to Houston this weekend. That's where his dad played. Houston's like a second home to him, but I just think he loves TCU, loves the offense. Talked to me this week about Coach Riley and playing for Garrett Riley in that scheme. Talked about the development at the position, particularly with Quentin Johnson, who's from the same high school as him. And I think TCU is going to be tough to beat for this playmaker.
All right. Thank you so much, Steve. But don't get too comfy in case, any Dante Moore news breaks in the next half hour. We'll make sure to bring you back on to talk about it. Thank you again.